A Second Life, Chapter 10, written by D. R. Konigan, Nick Nero 83. Danny woke up the next morning to light coming in through the window. He groaned, turning over. Wait, was that a cat? There was a black and white tuxedo cat sleeping among the blankets on the other side of his dad. He sat up and tweaked. He wanted to pet the cat, but it looked like it was sleeping. Are you going to pet him or not? Danny turned his head, seeing Uncle Jason sitting up in a tank top and rumpled blanket around his hips. I want to, but won't that wake him up? Danny whispered. He'll live. He's generally a friendly little fella, Jay said. Wiggling out of his dad's arms, Danny floated up till he was hovering upside down over the cat, his shirt falling down slightly. Hesitantly, he reached out and tentatively pet the cat. It jerked awake, giving Danny a little murk before sniffing his hand. Deciding Danny was okay, the cat began to lick itself, ignoring the boy hovering above it. Jason stood up, picking his way over to where Danny was, grabbing his hand and pulling him away from the makeshift bed that had been set up in the middle of the room. Danny giggled. He was still upside down. Come on, kiddo. You're going to scare the crap out of everyone if they see you hovering over them. Where are we going? Danny asked. I'm going to feed you, Uncle Jay said. That piqued his interest. You're going to cook? Won't Great-Grandpa be mad? Danny questioned, worried. Nah, I'm the only one Alfred trusts in the kitchen. The others lost privileges. Dimmblatt is sort of allowed, at the cat, his uncle explained. Can I help? Alright, but you gotta follow my directions. We're not going to destroy Alfred's kitchen, Jason warned. Okay. Uncle Jason showed Danny how to make pancakes. They were a little messy with the flour, but other than that, the pancakes were looking good. As they cooked, Jason had Danny help him clean up the kitchen, telling Danny how important it was to clean up after yourself while cooking, to reduce your work for later and to give you more counter space. Looking around, though, Danny wondered how one could run out of counter space in the kitchen. They made chocolate chip, blueberry, strawberry banana, and regular pancakes. As they made them, the rest of the family trickled in to watch, chatting amongst themselves. Uncle Jason wadded the hand of anyone trying to take one early. Once they had a small pile of each kind on a plate, Uncle Jason shooed everyone to the table, including Great-Grandpa Alfred. After that, they all ate. Danny eating the chocolate chip pancakes along with his dad and Aunt Steph. The others ate the healthier option, which were fine for Danny. More chocolate chip pancakes for him, then. Danny felt really proud of himself. He'd made food, something most of his family couldn't do. Both Danny and Uncle Jason got praised for the pancakes. After breakfast, his dad took him aside, crouching down so he was eye level with Danny. Do you still want to go and meet the team today? You don't have to if you don't want to. I know you used the data tube yesterday, but that still scared you, his dad asked. We'll go play hide and seek, right? And I can be invincible? Danny asked, biting his lip. Yes. You also have to show Nightwing and the other dolls the powers that you know of. And if there's time, you'll have a session with Black Canary too, he explained. That didn't sound too bad. The only thing that would suck was the data tube. I still want to go. You'll help me get home with the data tube, right? You'll be there the whole time? His dad hesitated. I can't be there the whole day. I'll bring you there, and then I'll be there when it's time to come home. Nightwing will be there, though, the whole day. So will Robin and Red Robin, Batman, Superman, and a couple of Justice League members will be there, too. Will they be playing hide and seek, too? Maybe. You might need to convince them, though. You're the cutest, though if anyone could, it would be you. His dad laughed. Danny puffed his chest up a little bit in pride. Yes, he was very persuasive. If you're going to go then, Danny, then there's a few small things we have to go over. Number 1, don't tell anyone your middle or last name, okay? The founders of the Justice League and some of the team know who you are, but to the rest of them, it's a secret. Why is it a secret? Danny asked curiously. It's to protect you, and to protect us. The less people who know a secret, the easier it is to keep it. Oh. So do I get a code name? Like a spy? Or a hero? Danny started floating in excitement. This one's going to be so cool. If you want, you could just go by Danny. What about Chick? Or Hummingbird? Because you're my little bird? His dad offered. Danny gave him a disgruntled look. No, those are bad code names. Danny thought hard, putting his hand on his chin. What would be a good code name for him? What would a good hero name for him be? Appearing in his mind, just like the name Jad had a couple of days ago, was a single word. Phantom. I got it, he exclaimed, reaching his fist in the air in triumph. Phantom. That's what my code name will be. His dad looked at him a little confusedly. Phantom? That doesn't really have anything to do with birds, his dad said, trailing off. Does it have to? His dad gave a small smile that had a touch of sadness to it. No, it doesn't. You don't have to follow a tradition you don't even know about. You can be whatever you want, I promise. And with that, his dad cupped Danny's face in his hand, placing a kiss on his forehead. Why did this make his dad sad? No, that wasn't exactly white. Melancholic, maybe? Let's get you into some workout clothes, okay? I'm pretty sure those heroes are going to tire you out. Oh, and Batman gave me a domino mask for you to wear to help keep who you are secret. Danny could tell that there was still something bothering his dad, but he wasn't sure how to help. Hopefully, his dad would be feeling better soon. Was his dad sad he wouldn't see Danny for most of the day today? He'd have to make it up to him somehow tomorrow, giving his dad extra cuddles and love. Danny was having such a hard time sitting still. He wanted to get up, to float, to do something instead of just waiting here with Red Robin for Nightwing to come. The area around his eyes itched where the domino was on his face. It had been the weirdest thing putting it on in front of the mirror with his dad's help. Now that he thought about it, how had his dad known all those tips and tricks when it came to putting on one of these mask things? That didn't seem like something just anyone knew. In fact, the only people who probably knew about that sort of stuff were people who wore dominoes regularly, aka heroes. Sighing, Danny flopped over, laying down on 2 of the chairs, and staring up at the ceiling. Look at the evidence, Danny. Dick knew how to put on a domino mask, something Nightwing would know. When Dick had left, Nightwing hadn't been here, and soon Nightwing would be here when Dick wasn't. They both called Danny Little Bird. Their bond with him was the same. They had the same silhouette, the same hair, the same smile. Conclusion? Dick was Nightwing. It was the only thing that made sense. Danny did have other theories, like Dick and Nightwing were twins, but they didn't seem as likely looking at all the evidence. The best way to test it would be when they left. If Dick was going to be the only one taking him home, then that meant Nightwing would leave just before Dick arrived. Danny sat up. If Dick was Nightwing, wouldn't that mean that Batman was Bruce? Both Nightwing and Dick had told him how they'd been adopted by a night older man. Just a single man, not two. Did that potentially mean his aunt and uncle? The door burst open, and in came a rushed-looking Nightwing, who immediately came over and scooped Danny into a hug. "Hi, little bird. It's good to see you. I heard from a certain someone that you want to go by Phantom as your secret code name," Nightwing said, ruffling Danny's hair with a grin. Danny stared at the man's face. If he covered the eye, then he was pretty sure that was Dick's face. That was his dad. "Wait, what? It's not bird-themed?" Red Robin asked, shocked. Danny frowned. There's nothing wrong with Phantom, and why did it have to be bird-themed? "I think Phantom's cool. It's my secret code name, not yours," Danny defended, pouting slightly. Why didn't people like his code name? "Sorry, Phantom. I was just surprised. I wasn't expecting that code name," Red Robin backpedaled. "Are you ready, little bird? We're going to go test your powers after we meet a couple of people." There was a hint of nerves to Nightwing's tone. "Yeah, let's go," Danny cheered. "Just remember, like with your dad, if you see anyone with a bond with you, let me know, okay?" Danny nodded. He followed Nightwing down a hall to a large open space where Batman, Superman, Diana, the Robin Hood guy, a blonde lady with a black jacket and black boot, and a green-skinned man in a black suit and a blue cape. Besides Batman, he didn't have bonds with any of them. That was fine with him. He already had a ton of familiar bonds. Superman waved to them, smiling, and Danny waved back. Noticing that Superman was looking elsewhere, the others turned to look too. They all smiled openly, except for Batman, who gave a barely there one. "Hey there, Danny. Good to see you again," Superman said. There was a hopeful look on his face. Weird. What was he hoping for? "You already know Batman and Wonder Woman, but these are Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Martian Manhunter." Superman pointed out each person as he named them, each of them waving at Danny, except for Batman. Batman always had to be different. Danny hadn't known that Diana's hero name was Wonder Woman, though. "Hi. Nice to meet you. Oh, I picked a code name. Dad said I didn't have to, but if I'm gonna hang out around heroes, I wanted one. Do you want to know what it is?" Danny asked with a grin. "Let me guess. Is it board-themed?" Green Arrow asked, laughter in his tone. Danny frowned, crossing his arms, huffing. "No. Why didn't everyone think it's related to a bird?" he asked angrily, looking away from the group and pouting. Honestly, this was starting to get annoying. So what if he hadn't picked a bird name? What with bird names? "What is the name you decided, little one?" Wonder Woman asked kindly. Danny eyed her suspiciously. Diana had been nice to him the one time he'd met her. Reluctantly, he mumbled, "Phantom. I chose Phantom. I thought it was cool." "It is a good name, a strong name," Wonder Woman reassured him. Danny looked at her warily. "You really think so?" "I do." "Thank you," he whispered shyly, putting his hand behind his back and moving his white leg back and forth. Yeah, he liked Wonder Woman. She was cool. "Okay," Nightwing started, clapping his hands together, clearly trying to change the subject. "Why don't we start the test? Just to be sure, Phantom, do you see any new bonds?" "No new ones. Just the same one done before with you and Batman," Danny responded. Weirdly enough, Superman looked a little disappointed, before his face switched back to normal. None of the others reacted, though. Whatever. Time to show off what he could do. At first, the group was happy and excited for each ability he showed off. Black Canary, Green Arrow, and Mushroom Hunter left halfway through, though, citing being busy, though Mrs. Canary told Danny she'd see him later. As the list of powers grew longer, the atmosphere changed. It was tenser, more somber, and wary. Was there something wrong with having so many powers? He wasn't sure. Were they scared for him or of him? The only ones who didn't really change their demeanor were Nightwing and Batman. Danny was really glad they were his family. He was demonstrating his ice powers, explaining them as best he could. So I can make it so that it doesn't melt if I don't want it to? Or put like a timer on it. I used it the other day on Nightwing. I think he had some bruises or something. Either way, it was good to put ice on it, so I did, Danny explained happily. Are you able to control the temperature of the ice? How detailed are you able to make it? Batman asked. I don't know about the temperature, but I can make some super detailed stuff. Look. Danny said, concentrating and making a little statue of Batman out of the ice, handing it to him. See? I actually dreamed about this a couple of nights ago. I was sad and lonely, so I made a couple of different figures and tried to play with them. Danny drooped slightly. That had been a really sad dream. Even playing with the ice sculptures that he'd made hadn't cheered him up. It didn't really help, though. I was still sad and lonely. I'm pretty sure I cried after. Danny looked up. Superman looked utterly crushed and heartbroken, as did everyone in the room. Even Batman was frowning. Oh no, he hadn't meant to bring the mood down. Nightwing came up and pulled him into a hug. Oh, little bird, Nightwing whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Danny hugged his dad. It's okay. I'm not lonely anymore. I have a big family who loves me, Danny reassured Nightwing, patting the hero on the back. Danny had to suppress a giggle. It was the opposite of how it usually was. Usually his dad would reassure him, but this time he was doing it to Dad. Do you want to see the figures I made? I named them all. We would love to, Phantom, one woman said, stepping closer. Pulling himself out of his dad's hold, he concentrated, making the young woman in thick combat boots, a skirt, crop top, and a short bob with a small ponytail that he'd seen in his dreams. He handed her to Wonder Woman. Danny thought for a moment. She hadn't had a name in his dream, but he knew she had a name. It was just on the tip of his tongue. Oh, this is Sam. Sam's really cool. She's vegan and she loves plants. She wears black and purple all the time. And I think she's something called goth. Yeah, she's goth. She likes gold and bats and spiders and stuff. She's not afraid of anything, and I'm pretty sure she could beat anyone up. Sam's super loyal and a great friend. Thank you, Phantom. She's beautiful, and she sounds like a wonderful person. Wonder Woman tried to hand Sam back to Danny. Oh, no, you can keep her if you want. That's just a figurine of her. Sam's in here. Danny patted his chest over his heart. I can always make her again out of ice. Very well, little one. I will treasure her. Thank you for giving me the statue of your friend, she said with a kind smile. Danny beamed back at her, then turned to Superman. Concentrating once more, he made a young man in a t-shirt and cargo pants, holding a PDA, wearing a hat that looked like a cross between a beanie and a beret. This one was called Tucker. Danny handed it to Superman. Here, this is Tucker, my other best friend. He's nerdy and techy. He likes animals, mainly dogs and wolves. He comes up with dumb schemes sometimes and totally gets himself into trouble. He'd do anything for his friends, though, and is always willing to lend a hand or an ear. He had a heart of gold and cared a lot about family and friends, and is super chatty and friendly. Thanks, Phantom. He's great, Superman told him. Danny nodded, pleased. Yes, he is. Danny turned to face Batman, the eye copy of the hero still in Batman's hand. Oh, right. You already have one. So then he faced Nightwing, his dad. He supposed it was fitting that his dad got this one. Got Jad. Finally making the final figure, a young woman in long pants and a long-sleeved shirt, there was a headband in her hair. Before handing it to the hero, Danny stared at it a moment. My dad gave me a stuffed elephant a couple of days ago. He said I should name it after something that reminded me of home, that made me feel safe. So I named it Jasmine. Jad. This is the original Jad. Nervously, Danny gave the figure made of ice to his father. Gently, Nightwing took it from him, looking the figure over in his hand. Jad is a bit of a know-it-all, but she's nice, and she takes care of me, and always wants the best for me. She's really smart, and great with emotions, and just understanding mind stuff. She always did her best to protect me and cheer me up. Unlike the other two, in my mind, she wasn't just a friend. She was an older sister. I don't know. I just wanted a family, and someone who cared about me, and tried to protect me from everything that hurt. So, yeah. Danny ended his explanation looking away shyly, a blush on his face. He wasn't really sure how they'd take his little rant about his imaginary friend, although he was pretty sure Jad wasn't imaginary. That had been her in the dream with Cereal. That probably meant that Sam and Tucker were real too, or had been real. But if he didn't remember them alive and wasn't even sure if they had been, that made them imaginary, right? Danny, Phantom, come here. Kneeling down, Nightwing hugged him. Danny hugged back, but he was surprised by how sad his dad was. He could feel it, now that his and his dad's cords were close. Let's finish this later. Not today, Nightwing struggled to say. Batman leaned down, placing his hand on Nightwing's shoulder. We'll take a break, have a snack. That should give us all a chance to compose ourselves. If you still feel that way, chum, we can finish another day. Danny looked around confused. But I feel fine. Isn't it me we're testing? Yes, but sometimes something normal to you isn't normal to others. So although you feel fine and can continue, I don't think the rest of us feel out to doing so without a moment, Batman explained evenly. Danny thought it over. Everyone did seem rather sad. Maybe a break was good. He still hadn't shown them that he could do the cool transformation thing. Well, he was pretty sure he could. Danny had yet to actually do it, but it had to be like all of another power that he'd never tried before, just known that he'd had. Also, the whole fact that his powers got stronger when he transformed. But he couldn't be transformed forever? At least, not now. He was still too small, too young. Again, things that he just knew were kinda weird. Can I have ice cream? Danny asked hopefully. Releasing him from the hug, his hero dad laughed wetly. You can have whatever sweets you want. Danny got his ice cream. In fact, there were over 10 different kinds in the freezer. Nightwing had let him try a small spoonful of each kind. Once he tried them all, he got to pick which two he got scooped of. It had been a tough decision, but he'd ended up with chocolate and cookies and cream. They were really good. Apparently they were mainly for the Flash and for Impulse. Superman had to leave at that point, although Batman and Wonder Woman could stay. So once again they were doomed. It was going well, until they got to the end of the list. Danny had to bring up the whole, I can transform and that makes me more powerful thing. Hey, Nightwing, he tried. His father didn't notice, examining some of the targets he'd hit with his green blast. There'd been a weird silence the first time he'd shown the blast, and the shield he could make. Something about the color being weird? He was about to try again, louder this time, so his dad could hear, when Batman grabbed his arm. Danny looked up in surprise, his inner self fluttering in surprise. Batman really could be intimidating, even when he wasn't trying to be. That's right now, you almost called Nightwing something. What were you about to call Nightwing? Batman asked. Danny flushed. He'd been about to call Nightwing Dad. It was something he thought of the man before he'd even suspected Dick and Nightwing were the same. Crooking his finger, trying to get Batman to come closer, the man leaned down. Danny floated up slightly so he could whisper in Batman's ear. I want to call Nightwing Dad, but I don't know if he'll be okay with that. I know people can have more than one dad, but I also don't know how often I'll see Nightwing, or what my other dad Dick will think of it. Plus, I'm still figuring some things out. No, please don't tell him, Danny pleaded. There was also the whole Dick may be Nightwing thing, but that was included in still trying to figure things out. Batman stood up. I see. I will not tell. Thanks. A mischievous idea came to him. You know Dick, right? Danny asked, paying close attention to Batman's reaction and answer. I do, came the delayed and likely reluctant answer. Do you think he'd be sad if I called Nightwing that? I don't think he will. He might even be happy. Why do you think that? He said yesterday that he wasn't looking forward to sharing me with whoever Kal-El is. Ha ha, take that, Batman. Danny could be a detective too. What was Batman going to say to that? That's different. How? Danny asked, tilting his head slightly. What are you two up to? Nightwing asked, coming over, having finished looking at all the targets. Where's your tarking? Oh, Nightwing, there's one more thing. There is? I thought you said that was the last one, besides the earthquake one that makes you pass out, Dad asked. That was the last one, but, there's this thing? I don't really know what to call it. Maybe a transformation? I can't hold it for long, but my powers are stronger when I'm like that. Supposedly. Well then, let's see it, Phantom, Nightwing said cheerily. Taking a deep breath, Danny did his best to summon the wings of light that he knew would wash over him. It just took him reaching into himself, his core, for the wings to appear around his middle, traveling in opposite directions. His t-shirt, sweatpants, and sneakers disappeared, transforming into a tight-fitting black and white suit. It looked slightly different than what he remembered. There wasn't a symbol on his chest, and the suit looked more professional and sturdier than what he remembered. The suit was mostly black, but the ends, basically where his hands and feet were, white. There was also a strip of white around his waist. As soon as he transformed, an alarm went off on Batman's arm and on Nightwing. His father glanced at it before his face went pale, hastily grabbing Danny's arm and checking his pulse. Danny, turn back, now, Nightwing demanded, his voice scary and scared at the same time. Worried, he did. The alarm stopped. Nightwing checking his pulse once more. He breathed a long sigh of relief, placing his hand on Danny's shoulder, leaning down so his forehead was touching Danny. B, I'm done with tests. I can't do any more right now. We're done. My heart can't take another surprise right now. Nightwing straightened up, looking at Batman. Danny couldn't see his expression at this angle. I'm taking my kid, and we're gonna go play. With that, Danny was hoisted up in the arm, thrown carefully over Nightwing's shoulder before the man walked out of the room. Okay, y'all, that's all for today. That chapter was a doozy. It felt really long this time. It was long for me to record it, and I had so much editing. You would not believe how many things I had to cut for this one. I kept tripping over my words. It was awful. But also, just the emotional gut punch, knowing how much I feel for Dick, even though Danny is honestly living his best life right now. The next chapter, we'll get the kitty fun time, and it'll be so much easier on the emotions, I swear. But that's all I got for this one. I'll really try to get the next one out soon, but it may come a little later just because this big does have longer chapters, I'm noticing, so it'll probably take a bit. But I'll try, y'all. Anyway, that's it. I love you. Bye.